start over. The question is, do I plan to make appointments to the Salary Commission? And at this point, I really don't. And that's not unheard of. Governor Holden didn't make those appointments, and then I made them almost, I guess, about halfway through my term. And we did have a new schedule that was promulgated for elected officials. Given the national slowdown, the fact that there's a real threat of actually deflation rather than inflation, and that you see declining general revenue numbers, I don't know that this is the time to consider a pay increase for elected officials. So I don't plan to make those appointments. It's certainly something that Governor Nixon could consider at any time moving forward.
But isn't it up to the commission to decide whether there's the pay increase or not? Isn't it your duty under the Constitution to appoint members?
Well, the Constitution says that the governor appoints those commissioners, and again, the timing of that essentially is left to the governor. I appointed folks about midway through what would have been a term because Governor Holden had decided not to in 2004, and I think that was an understandable decision given the state of the economy at the time. I don't think now's the time to consider a pay increase for elected officials.
Governor, will today's pardons be the only ones you issue before leaving office?
I don't know. There are lots of cases to consider, and I have not made a large number of pardons, probably about 10 since I assumed the office of governor. Those have been cases where, in most instances, you had a unanimous probation and parole board recommending a pardon, an offense that was supported, a pardon that was supported by local law enforcement and community leaders. So I go through a number of different criteria as I consider pardons. I have rejected hundreds of pardon applications, and again, granted about 10. There'll be a large number that I consider prior to leaving office, and I'll use that same criteria to determine whether or not a pardon is appropriate. It is really one of the more extraordinary powers, I believe, of a governor. Essentially, a governor in a pardon is allowed to essentially wipe somebody's slate clean as if the crime was never committed and the punishment never occurred. So it's an extraordinary power, and one that I try and take very, very seriously as I consider applications for a pardon.
Do you have the authority as a governor to issue a pardon, like a Richard Nixon type of pardon? He had not been formally charged with any crime, but Gerald Ford thought, on the chance that he might be charged and he might have committed a crime, I'm pardoning him anyway. Do you have that authority?
I don't know. I'm not considering such. I don't know the answer to that question, and I'm not considering it, so I've never asked the question myself.
Have you decided whether you're going to call a special session or not?
We've had a number of discussions with legislative leaders, and there's some interest. Obviously, given the calendar, it's unlikely at this time, but still leaving that door open as we sort of finalize discussions with leaders in the House and Senate.